All right, we're planning on introducing inequalities today, right, Mr. Boland? All right. So, let's see if the sucker is going to work. All right, today we're going to look at inequalities. These are the 4 examples. You should have seen at least the top 2. The bottom 2 may be new to some of you, but some of you might actually have seen it on my back wall above my number line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through ways that you can say all of these, like in words when you're required to write inequalities from words into an inequality statement. So ways to do the first one, because it's going, obviously if you put up your left hand, put the L up and squeeze it, right? It looks like that sign, so I always remember that that is going to be less than. Another name, another words to describe less than would be smaller than. Anything else? Smaller than. Shorter than. You're just talking about height. Smaller than. If I think of anything else, I'll come back to that one. So if these are less than, obviously this is greater than. And we can just do the opposite of smaller than is larger than. I have another one for a less than. Would be cheaper than, if you're talking about price. Right, so greater than, larger than, taller than. We got bigger than. Higher than. Whoops. So then I can write lower than over here. So if you notice, if you know one, you can figure out the opposite of, and that's pretty much what that is. Think we have a good list?
I think so.
All right, so moving on to the bottom ones. To say these, if you notice that the inequality symbol from above, less than, is already included here, and obviously we've added this symbol in here, and that actually is part of the equal sign. So you kind of combine the two. So the old school version of this, or this like the normal way, would be less than, because you see obviously the less than sign here, or, and then you include the equal to. So if that's less than or equal to, obviously this one over here is greater than, because obviously here's the greater than sign, or equal to. So it could be either one. And then, move that over here. And then we have other words that mean the same thing. A lot of them, if you add the word no in front of things, like if you take any of these here and put the word no in front, you can put no greater than, no taller than, no larger than, all mean less than or equal to. And then if you take any of these and put their no in front of them, so like no less than, no smaller than, no shorter than, all mean greater than or equal to. There's 2 last ones that are quite often used. It's at least and at most. I think sometimes we miscommunicate what that really means. So if I said the most students that can fit on a bus is 57. So you're telling me at most we can have 57. Can we have more than that? No. Can we have less than that? Sure. So at most actually is here. And then at least would go to the other side, greater than or equal to, because maybe we have to say, like, we have to have at least 50 people to attend to create the field trip. So at least, so we can have 50, or could we have more? Sure. So it's greater than or equal to. So these are all the different ways that you can say these symbols, and obviously if these words show up and I ask you to write the inequality for these words, obviously I want you to replace the words with a given inequality symbol, which is obviously these symbols I'm talking about being the inequality symbols. So let's try a couple things here. We're going to go through some examples here, what I'm expecting of you to do. So here's some real life situations that we can look at. I'm going to just bring these up. Actually going to put those over here. So what we're going to do is, here's some everyday life ones. Oh, all right. So I'm going to write it right above. Okay. So I'm just going to take this here. I think you guys have yours above. So I'm just going to write yours above here. So here, if I have this statement, speed limit 55. So what we're going to look at is we're going to have an X, and we're going to have 55. Now what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, can you go? Does that mean you can go less than 55? Does that mean you can go greater than 55? Less than or equal to 55, or greater than or equal to 55. So what does that speed limit say? So what does that mean? Well, hopefully you know that you can go less than that, but can you go 55 miles an hour and not get a ticket? Absolutely. Obviously, there's some people out there that go over, but that is breaking the law. Now, if we go to the next one, so you look at 20 items or less. So we have X, we have a 20, and now we have to make sure which one of those inequality symbols, which one of these makes this situation true. So can we have 20 items? Can we buy 20 items? So if you go to the store and you go to the speedy checkout, that's what I call it, or I think it's 20 items or less, or some of them are 10 or less. So can you buy 20 items? Sure. Can you buy more than 20 to go in that aisle? No, but you can buy less. So it'd be less than 20 items you can still go in that line, or equal to 20 items you also can go in that line. So either one would satisfy the situation. How about this? If I said that your first job, you're going to start at $7.50, starting at $7.50. Now, obviously we have an X, we have $7.50, and obviously, are they going to pay you $7.50? Exactly. It's starting, yes, so it's equal to $7.50, but think about pay. Is your pay going to go down or up over the years? Hopefully you're thinking up. So which one of these inequalities means greater than? Hopefully that. So your starting pay can be greater than or equal to $7.50 as the years go on. So there are some examples of some real life situations. Let's try a couple more. A person under 17 are not admitted. So at first, what I want you guys to understand is you look for the number. So you're going to take X, use a little space, and write 17. And now you're saying, person under 17 are not admitted. Are you saying that X is going to have to be, if you notice, people that are under the age of 17, would that be 17 years of age? Can they be 17? If they're not, and what does under mean? Hopefully you're thinking under is less than. So anybody that's less than 17 years of age can go, or is not admitted into this place. Excuse me. So let's go to the next one. Capacity for the cafeteria is 275 people. All right. So we have an X and we have 275. We're talking about the cafeteria. The number of people in the cafeteria. How many people can be in the cafeteria? How many people can be in there? Is 275. Can you have more than that? No, otherwise you actually violate fire code. So you're thinking, okay, so it can be equal to 275, but it has to be less than that. We can have less than that in there, or equal to that, and we'll be okay. We will not violate fire code. Next one, you must be more than 36 inches tall. Right now, this thing right here tells me a lot. And obviously, 36. You guys have all been on roller coasters that have those, symbols that say, "Hey, you have to be so high or so tall to be able to ride the ride." So we have X and 36. So you can be more than 36 inches tall. Can you be 36 inches and ride the ride, or do you have to be more than that? Well, hopefully you understand that more than just means greater than. So that's actually another one that we could actually add to greater than, I believe. I don't think we put that on there. So, whoops. So we actually can put more than here. All right, you must be at least 18 years to vote. So we know that 18 is involved, so we have X and 18. Now we're going to put an inequality symbol. At least, if you have to go back to that first slide that we filled that out. Can you be 18 and vote? Yes. Can you be older and vote? Yes. Can you be younger? No. So you're going to have to be greater than 18 or equal to 18 in order to vote. All right, I want you to try this one. Give you a second to see if you can fill this out. Talking about sports. And if you notice, they've actually narrowed it down where you're going to be using either one of those symbols. So you guys should see 6, and we have 14. So what does under 14 mean? So X is the age of the person. How old do you have to be? Can you be 14 years old to play on this team? Can you be older, or do you have to be younger? And hopefully if you're thinking older, you have to be older than 14. Or under 14, I'm sorry. Excuse me, not older, under. So it's less than. So can you be 14 and play? No, because 14 does not make that X true. So if you plugged in 14 for X, 14 is not less than 14. But if you were 13 years old, are you under 14 years old if you're 13? Absolutely, that would make it true. Let's try another one. Members of the Pee Wee football team must be under 10 years old. So again, we have X and 10, and obviously we have to be under again, so it has to be less than 10 years old. Now, as we go through inequalities, we have to graph inequalities. Part of the idea of inequalities is that the variable doesn't just have one answer. Like when we did equations, if X was 2, you only had 2 to plug in for X. But in this case, if I said X is less than 2, can you think of multiple numbers that are less than 2? Sure. So as you look at this, I'm going to graph, if you notice, this is the graph of n is less than or equal to, okay? And when you have this little bar right here, which is equal to, that actually means to close the dot on the graph, which means right here. If you notice, the dot here is actually closed in because you can actually plug in that -1, and this is still true. So that closed in dot means you can start there, anything, and then if you notice the arrow is actually going to the left. So you guys agree that -2 is less than 1, 3 is less than 1, and obviously it keeps going on through the graph. So this is a closed situation when there's an equal sign. So another closed situation would be greater than or equal to because the equal sign is there. Here's another situation, a graphing situation where the dot is open. Look at this. See how the dot is not filled in. So it's not included, which means -1. If you notice, here's the inequality. If you plug -1 into X, or N, excuse me, this is false. -1 does not make that true. That's not a true inequality statement. So -1, you can't start there, but you can definitely start here at 0. And obviously 0 is less than 1. That is true. But this one right here is false. So that's why you have to leave that open. So when you don't see an equal sign, you leave it open. If you see an equal sign, you actually fill it in. So here's an example. I want you to check, oh, what's wrong with the situation? A, B, C, D. Okay. This is A, this is B, this is C, and that's D. Which one of these is actually the graph of this? Try. So because n is equal to, less than or equal to, I know that C and D are not possible because they're open dots, which means they're not equal to. Okay? So now I'm just going to look at A and B. So we have -3. Both dots are on -3, but less than. Which way would the less than? Which way is the arrow pointing to numbers that are less than 3? So if the arrow's going to the right, think about what numbers, obviously as you go right on a number line, they get greater. So again, A is not it. So B has to be the answer because it's going to the left. These are less than. These are numbers that are less than -3. And -3 is part of the solution, which is equal to. Try the next one. Again, this is B, this is C. It's kind of like off-centering, but which one of these is true? All right, n is greater than -3. So right now, obviously, I can tell that because this is just, there's no equal sign, A and B would be eliminated because we cannot have dots that are filled in. So we're looking at these two dots, obviously both on -3, but now we have to consider, are we going right or left? If you want n to be greater than -3, which means which one of these graphs is pointing, or think about left or right when we think of greater than or equal to. Remember, this is right, to the right is always to the greater side. This is always to the lesser numbers. So obviously we want letter D to be the answer because it's going to the right, and these are numbers that are greater than x, or n, which if you plug in -1, and all of these numbers from here to the left going that way make it true. All right, I want you guys practice these. Now, if I asked you ever to graph an inequality, this is the first thing I want you to do. I want you to draw a number line, so please do that with me. And what I require, I believe Mr. Bolin requires the same, so if you're watching this, 3 numbers is all we need. Do you agree with me, Mr. Bolin?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you're going to take the number that's involved and put it in the middle. You're going to put numbers on either side. So think of a number left of -3. That would be -4. Okay. I don't know why that dot. -4. And then obviously the number to the right of -3 is -2. So going left to right, the number should be obviously getting closer and closer to 0 because you're on the negative side of the number line. Now what you need to do is figure out, what does this inequality mean? Remember that these two right here are going to be open dot. Okay? All right, so if you have no equal sign, you're going to put an open dot on that number. And then think about this. This symbol is less than or greater than. Hopefully you're thinking greater than. So greater than numbers obviously is -4 or -2 greater than -3. -2 wins, so our arrow is going to go to the right. Now I don't care if you put the arrow above the number line or do a squiggly. Okay, I don't care which one you do. Just make sure that we can see it. If you put it directly on the number line, straight on the number line, you cannot tell because I can't tell when you draw with pencil. All right, let's do this one. Now we're on the positive side of things. Again, you're going to take your number that's in the inequality, put it in the middle, put a number on either side, and then open or close dot on this one. It has the equal sign, so we have greater than or equal to, and remember that these two are going to be closed dots because they're equal to. So we're going to actually fill this dot in, and we want less than. Well, less than, it starts with an L, so does left. So less than always goes to the left. Again, you can do a little squiggly. Otherwise, make sure the arrow is pointing to the left. Make sure we can see it. All right, well that, I believe, concludes, whoops, that's the next time. That concludes the notes. So tomorrow, make sure that you have them done. And if you bring questions, if you have any slides, make sure you wrote some questions down if you have any. See ya!